Greetings, programs. This is Wretch. Welcome back to Vampire the Masquerade, Reckoning of New York. And in the last episode, guys, all the clues to try and find Sansaricq had led us to North Brother Island, where we found the Ministry taking on a large group of hunters. Now, we decided to get on the Ministry's good side by helping them out against the hunters, but things are very, very icy. We were able to encounter Sansaricq and see an example of his power, and now we need to try and continue this because right now we are definitely at a disadvantage. And I can see why they're calling it the Reckoning of New York, because there are hunters everywhere, if anyone remembers the old school Hunter the Reckoning. But let's see what happens here. With no more distractions, the path seems way shorter than I remember. I can see one of those RIBs bobbing on the East River in the distance. Must be that charmed hunter, off to ruin his boss's night. Now, Sansaricq turns to Paddy and me, sizing us up with an icy glare. But even though his tone regains that frightening intensity from before, now there's a hint of benevolence. You have misfortune of catching me in a nasty mood, I'm afraid. But if you provide an acceptable explanation for trespassing on my turf, I might just let you go. Well? I flick a glance at Paddy and catch his subtle nod out of the corner of my eye. Name's Callie, and this here's... Oh, I know who that is. The Baron's lapdog, the court's errand boy. I'm more interested in you. Gotta say, being in this kind of spotlight doesn't exactly boost my confidence. I'm Reynard Castle's child. I run with his coterie, and I know you've had business relations with him. I was actually the one who rushed the delivery of those trinkets you wanted. I didn't realize Sansarick's face could grow even more sour, but here we are. His lips curl down, he knits his eyebrows, and he glares at me like I just kicked his cat. But then, unexpectedly, he throws his head back and laughs. Loud, free, mocking laughter that makes me lose my cool. His laughter abruptly stops, and he's back to staring at me coldly, unblinkingly, and perfectly poised. I haven't heard from good old Ray in months, child. Whatever you think you procured for me went to someone else's hands. He falls silent briefly, and then his serpent eyes narrow. Do you even know what exactly it was that you acquired for him? My silence is his answer. I'm not gonna lie, his words hit me hard and I'm a little flustered. Reynard rarely deigned to share his plans with me, but it wasn't like he made a habit of lying straight to my face. Why would he hide it all from me, specifically? As Sansaricq makes yet another disparaging sound at me, Paddy clears his throat and shifts the Setite's scalding focus onto himself. Would you mind telling us your last dealings with Castle? Any information could help. I roll my eyes at this stiff and obvious attempt at wheedling info out of Sansaricq, but he only smirks, then sighs as if thinking about Reynard brought him great anguish. Which, admittedly, it might have. Nobody really thinks about Reynard unless they absolutely have to, and by that time it's usually too late. I don't mind, though I must say that brat truly was insufferable, fixated on the antediluvians like a child obsessed with a new toy. Antediluvians, before the flood, the founders of the original 13 vampire clans, also known as the Third Generation. For the last 1,000 years, many kindred assumed the antediluvians were asleep. Only a few believed they continued their struggle in subterfuge, conspiracy, and guile deep behind the scenes of secret history. It's like either before the flood or after the flood. Either way, yeah, very disgusting. I'm staring at him, totally lost. Antediluvians. That's a first. What did Reynard even want with the antediluvians? Why did he go asking the Ministry? As if reading my mind, Sansaricq tosses me a sharp look and continues. How he came to learn that my clan, me in particular, holds knowledge of our most ancient ancestors is a mystery to me. But seek me out he did, asking numerous questions about ancestry, power, and blood. I jump a little when he waves his hand dismissively after such a long period of standing still. Let me be perfectly clear. The history of Clan Ravnos was never of interest to me, and I had little desire to discuss it. Neither had Reynard, up until a few months ago. What prompted his interest in these topics? I haven't the slightest, but I'd bet the promise of profit was his primary motivation. What I will say, however, is that his focus on, how did you put it, business relations, waned significantly. That's news to me as well. As far as I know, it was pretty much business as usual all the fucking time. For the first time in our conversation, Sansarick's face twists into the picture of true savagery. No more pleasantness, exasperation, or hints of courtesy. Only anger, relentless and feral. Reynard Castle has been slipping in his promises, O child of his. I am done graciously waiting for reparations. I sneak a look at Paddy and see him nod at me encouragingly. So I collect all the broken and uncertain pieces of myself and put them back together again. You can do it, Callie. Be charming. Be careful. Be calm. Never make promises, even those you intend to keep. I get it. So, let me speak plainly. Reynard's missing. Whether he's gone for good or just lying low, I can't say. No one's been able to reach him. I think he's out there somewhere, hiding, but he's off the radar. You've got your ear to the ground. Have you heard anything about Reynard in the last few nights? I have no interest in that brant in so much as the objects he swore to procure for me. And since now I'm aware he had no hand in obtaining them, it is high time that I move on to greener pastures, don't you think? Especially since I know they intend to deliver, yes? Sansaricq almost seems like he might lighten up with a wink, but no. His expression snaps back to its usual icy detachment as he leans forward slightly. His gaze as steady and chilling as a snake's. Reynard Castle meddles with powers beyond his ken. I wouldn't be surprised if this sudden uptick in hunter activity was linked to his actions one way or another. I wait, hoping he'll elaborate on this strange and frankly insulting connection he's implying. But he seems he considers our discussion done. He straightens up and signals to his second-in-command, who quickly moves in to receive his whispered instructions. There's no way this can be all we take away from such a critical meeting. I catch Paddy's eye and subtly move closer to him, ensuring our next words are shielded from any serpent ears. What's our next move? Sansarick's clueless about Reynard too. Your sire's messing with dangerous shit? Great, tell me something I don't know. What now? He hesitates briefly. Does it bother you? The castle has been undermining you and reneging on commitments that involve your work? Yeah? Kind of, and by kinda I mean a hell of a lot. I know he's a bastard, but I'm no saint either. But we have this unspoken agreement that we're not gonna screw each other over, you know? I see. Shall we take our farewells then? Hold up, there's one more thing I need to ask. I back away from our little huddle and cough to grab Sansarick's attention. He acknowledges me right away, but he takes his sweet time wrapping up his chat before shooting me an impatient look. Just one more thing before we scram. The circulatory system seems to have a hit list, and Reynard's sitting at the top. Any clue what that's about? Sansarick's eyes narrow in anger and contempt. Well, color me astonished. He was babbling on and on about his latest illustrious benefactor who could help him circumvent the red market. He makes such a sour face that if we were still mortals, I'm sure he'd be spitting in disgust. Seems like he ended up on the bad side of that slumbering bitch on the Hudson. And frankly, good riddance with that. Something clicks in my mind as he speaks. That slumbering bitch on the Hudson. Didn't those lackeys in Morningside Park mention some pissed-off kindred ready to chuck them into the Hudson? I might have heard a rumor or two about the Hudson situation, but what do you mean exactly? My intention remains fixed on Sansaricq, but I can't ignore the abrupt, frantic motion of Paddy violently spinning his damned ring. Sansaricq gnashes his teeth, and a low, seething murmur ripples through his followers. That Tzimisce bitch. Veritra, or whatever the fuck her name is. You don't know her? Then count your blessings, child. The Tzimisce. To the Tzimisce, possession is all. They aim to dominate and own the subject of their possessiveness, jealously guarding it like their namesake dragon would its hoard. Everything from land, people, cults, companies, or gang can fall over the covetous claws of a dragon. This relentless desire extends to their own bodies as well, and they often rework themselves into flawless, hideous, or utterly alien forms, all the better to display their utter control over all things theirs. Good old vicissitude. Dragons, the old clan, Voids, and Stokers. Stokers because Dracula was actually considered to be Tzimisce, or at least old clan Tzimisce back in the day. What's her deal? Her deal is that she waltzes in like she owns the place and steals what's been rightfully ours for decades. His eyes blaze with a pure yellow light, fangs elongating as his jaw loosens in a furious scream. I swear I catch a glimpse of a forked tongue flickering back into his mouth as he calms down, regaining his usual captivating appearance. I add two and two together and realize this Ritra must have been the one who ousted the serpents from their turf in Harlem. How do we want to say that? Veritra? Yeah, Veritra. I shoot a knowing glance at Paddy, but he's too fixated on that damn ring of his. It could be worse. It could be Sasha Vikos. So I decide to press Sansaricq a bit harder. I wonder what kind of relationship Reynard has with this Veritra. Do you think... I do not think about her, child of Reynard, nor do I wish to start. My time is precious. We're done here. So much for pressing. Sansaricq fully turns his back to me, conferring with some of his serpents. I strain my ears to hear their whispers, not even out of need to hear what they're saying, but more out of sheer curiosity. But Paddy gently tugs on my sleeve. I think our meeting is concluded. We should leave before Sansaricq himself drives us off his turf. Not much in the way of clues. But you're right, I guess. I just really hope for more clues than that. Well, at least we confirmed that Sansaricq has nothing to do with Castle's disappearance. Let's discuss strategy once we're gone from this place. I nod, clear my throat loudly, and speak without waiting for Sansaricq to face me. Thanks for not throwing us out on our asses sooner, Sansaricq. And for the info, too. We'll get out of your hair now. I spin on my heel, but his stare halts me dead in my tracks. You should leave this city, child. Looking for that sire of yours will yield nothing but death and ruin. And if your leaving means that brat digs himself deeper into his own shit. He gives me a smirk. The first one yet. Then I might be willing to lend a hand. I'm ready to snap at him, scream in his face that I don't need his damn pity. But then it hits me like a freight train. He's not offering help out of sympathy. He'd get off on watching Reynard suffer, no doubt about it, but then his offer? It's like this weird mix of prickly-ass kindness, something you hardly ever see in our kindred world. And it's that fucked up kindness alone that keeps my mouth shut. So instead, I give a silent nod and hook arms with Paddy as we dip out of that decrepit building into the frigid dead of night. Gotta be careful with them. Connecting the dots. Reynard's exploits have me even more on edge than the carnage that happened at the island. I need to figure out my next move. Even I have heard some of the crazy legends that popped up around the ministry over the years. I don't give a shit if they can actually control the elements, but the second we bailed from that shithole on North Boulder Island, a ruthless wind kicked up, shoving us right back to our boat. It was like Mother Nature screaming at us to get the hell out, to run, ditch this cursed dump before it sucks us dry. Well, the set was a god of storms, so. And back in old school VTM, if there was a particular type of thaumaturgy, because back then there was different paths of thaumaturgy instead of a ton of rituals, though there were rituals then. But Set Tights would always do weather manipulation because of Set being a god of storms. So yeah, we totally bailed. We zoomed across the East River and only chilled when that wicked wind finally took a break from breathing down our necks. That's when it dives into the icy Hudson, stirring up wild waves. As we were talking on this pier, the thunderous crash on the water drowns out our voices, all fierce and intense, like it's slurping up our words and stashing them away. Let's recapitulate. First, Jessica Wainwright says Reynard Castle is now #1 on the circulatory system's hit list. Paddy isn't the type to make big gestures while he talks. He usually just spins his ring or shoves his hands deep in his pockets, but this time, he's putting on a bit of a show, ticking off imaginary bullet points on his fingers. Yeah, and I'm probably going down with him if I don't stop digging. Not like I've got much of a choice anyway. Correct. And second, Ellie Sansaricq swears he hasn't talked to Reynard Castle in months, and the items? Sure. Yeah, items sounds about right. Right. The items you arranged for Sansaricq through Castle haven't shown up yet. Castle has almost developed a rather intense, almost obsessive interest in the antediluvians, but his reasons and objectives are still a mystery. I just quietly nod along. Reynard Castle has been MIA for the past few nights, despite having meetings lined up. He goes quiet for a bit, spinning his ring like he's trying to tether his thoughts to something solid. In all honesty, none of this sounds promising. Not for finding him, and definitely not for his safety. He stops talking and just stares off into space, fiddling with his ring. What else is new? But there's another piece of intel we've dug up. And there's that Tzimisce from the Hudson. Ritra, was it? Sansaricq mentioned she's after Reynard. We don't know much about her, just that she's got some sort of show on the Hudson. We should definitely look into her. That ring of his is spinning faster now, and I somehow sense that Paddy's about to piss me off with another load of bullshit. It hits me all of a sudden. He does that a lot, doesn't he? Spins that ring and then spouts nonsense or flips his stance. I'm not convinced that's the smartest approach. What solid proof do we actually have that ties to the castle, aside from the rumblings of a disgruntled serpent? There we go. None. But then again, we don't have much of anything solid, so we might as well chase up what leads we do have, right? That makes sense. He keeps spinning his ring, his expression smoothing out like he's trying to straighten his thoughts. However, I think it might be better to focus our investigation on the circulatory system. Is this him being pragmatic? Anxious? Or maybe, did he just spin the ring and let fate decide? Honestly, that feels way riskier than just chatting with one kindred. I can't believe I'm the one who wants to play it safe. There's no way he lets sheer chance guide his actions, right? Not Mr. Cool and Collected. It's gotta be something about Ritra herself. Is she really that intimidating? Are you scared of her? Well, Sansaricq did imply that she single-handedly ousted his entire group out of Harlem. To be fair, he only suggested that she just does whatever she wants, and he's not a fan because she totally stepped on his toes. He turns away and spins his ring faster as yet another realization dawns on me. From what little I know, it's out of character for Paddy to be scared of someone he hasn't met. Hold on. Do you know her? Like, personally? I don't. Well, I've heard of her. Spin. Word travels fast, and she's been the talk of the town for some time now. She's quite the enigma. Spin. Spin. No one knows where she came from or why she chose New York, only that she invades territories and stands her ground decisively. Spin, spin, spin. And that unknown element is precisely what makes her a threat. Spin, spin, spin. I am so tempted to rip that fucking ring off his finger and smash it to pieces. I shut my eyes and grit my teeth, trying to concentrate. Look, I get why you're freaking out. You're being cautious, but I'm really not in a position to tiptoe around a potential lead. Maybe all the scary stories are just gossip and she's actually quite reasonable. Perhaps, but this is fact, not gossip. Many kindred who sought her out have never returned. But that's also true for both the Camarilla and Anarch turfs, where we've taken risks and got useful intel. I don't get why you're all weird about looking into Wretch, especially since you've never even met her. Or so you claim. He stops spinning his ring and grips it tightly, his knuckles turning a shade paler. The main difference between her and the Camarilla is that the Ivory Tower, you can occasionally talk your way out of the deal, negotiate, like you did a couple of nights ago. With Wretch, the story has just one ending. You disappear. His explanation almost makes sense, but he won't even look at me as he speaks. He just gazes off into nothing, fingers constantly dancing on his stupid ring. While I get that everyone has their quirks, I'm not demented enough to think I don't have any. It's really starting to get on my fucking nerves. You know what? As much as it kills me to say it, you're right. This Wretch chick is way too dicey to just waltz up to. Let's stick to something more solid for now. Yes, exactly. He sounds so relieved, it almost makes me feel bad for what I'm about to do. Almost. But then he starts spinning that goddamn ring again. It's just that... Oh, this is killing me. I need to do something with my hands before I literally explode. A look of concern flickers across his face. Literally explode? Does that have something to do with your clan? No, it's just how I'm wired. You got a coin or something I can toss? Maybe a pebble, a button? He gives me a puzzled look, but dutifully digs into his pocket and hands me a coin. A quid, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks, so... Oh shit. Looks like the serpents are having second thoughts about letting us walk. As he turns to look confused, I swiftly snag both the coin and his cherished ring from his hand. Before he can turn back, I slip the ring on my finger and step back. Never mind. Probably just my mind playing tricks. Hey, what's up with your ring? Up close, the ring is actually pretty intricate, even kind of beautiful. It's a dice spinner that mimics a D20 die. I give it a flick, and it lands on a 1. I choose not to take that as an omen. My ring? What? I lift my hand to give my fingers a little wave, flashing the double band. If he were mortal, Paddy would be the portrait of distress right now with his pupils shrinking to dots. He reaches out with a trembling hand. Give it back. Why the fuss? It's a cool piece and all, but seriously, what's the big deal? You don't understand. I really need it back. Please. I stand my ground with my arms crossed, watching him falter. His body tenses as if to jump, then relaxes abruptly. His hands clench and unclench, and it's clear he's struggling to keep himself composed, almost on the verge of kneeling. I know he's been putting on a show these past few nights, He's a pro, and I get that. Game recognizes game. But right now, he looks so downright pathetic that I have to really remind myself that we're both just playing our parts here. Callie, I'm serious, please. It could turn really ugly really fast. Give it back. Give it back. Just give it back! He seems so... Am I the bad guy here? This can't go on. I need to find out. I will if you tell me what the fucking problem is. Look at this from my angle, will you? I feel like I'm about to lose my head here, and you're acting like it's fine to gamble with my existence. You get how messed up that sounds, right? It's not what you think. Please, hand it over, and then what? You just skirt around the issue? That's all you ever fucking do. He stays quiet, teeth clenched, shivering on the ground as if he's going through withdrawal. Who knows? Maybe he is. You really don't think much of me, do you? Haven't I shown you I'm reliable enough? Come on, Pádraic, quit the game this once and trust me. What's going on with you? I might be able to help, you know? I pry his hand away from the decaying plank that he's nearly crushed, slip the ring onto his finger, and step back, just in case he decides to take a well-deserved swing at me. The reaction is instantaneous. I watch in silence as he curls in on himself, cradling his hand to his chest, his head bowed, shoulders heaving with sharp, near-mortal breaths. It calls to me, my precious. It takes a while for him to find his words. I wrestle with my impatience. Just stay cool, wait, speak when I'm about to blurt out something. Right when I'm about to blurt out something stupid, he speaks. I do not leave important decisions to a die roll. Absolutely not. You're right. It would be monumentally foolish. He lifts his gaze from the ring and looks at me with a piercing clarity. I plop down next to him, nodding at him to go on. This ring, I consider it my lifeline. It keeps me from drowning in the relentless flood of voices inside my head. It doesn't shut them up entirely, but it dampens them, makes them manageable, subdued. Wait a minute. Is this why you've been so obsessed about inner voices? And that Duskborn Sana? Yeah, I'm searching for more lasting solution, for some clarity at least. Clarity on what? On what these voices actually represent. You don't know? I know. I've known these voices as long as I can remember. I understand why they grew stronger after my embrace, but I also know they're not like what others experience. Pádraic, I'm so lost. What others are you talking about? He falls silent for a hot minute, the ring on his finger twitching incessantly. It's a truly irritating sight. I should probably look away before I'm tempted to yank it off again. I am Malkavian, Callie. The whole Caitiff act is just a facade. Malkavian. Derided as lunatics by other vampires, the blood of the Malkavians let them perceive and foretell truths hidden from others. Like the wise madmen of poetry, their fractured perspective stems from seeing too much of the world at once, from understanding too deeply, and feeling emotions that are just too strong to bear. The clan of the moon, lunatics, madmen, jesters, oracles, dervishes, visionaries, children of Malkav. Okay. And? His gaze, filled with suspicion, narrows on me. You don't seem terribly shocked. I mean, what are we if not the secrets we keep? Callie isn't even my real name, you know? Huh. What is it then? Slow down, Turbo. We're still unpacking your little masquerade here. What's up with that? Why, the pretense, you mean? Yeah, that. I get the gist, but I want to know the deets. The deets are that Malkavians aren't exactly crowd favorites, particularly those among us with an uncanny insight into the future and no talent for concealing it. Wait, hold up. You're telling me you can see the future? No, nothing so extravagant. I get feelings, hunches, occasional whispers offering me a glimpse of what might be. Sounds pretty nifty to me. Believe me, it's anything but. It's impossible to tell if these whispers are a boon or a bane. Wait, so your own voices are screwing with you? Yes. That's seriously messed up. No response, and I take it that he agrees. So, these whispers, did they tip you off when you saved those anarchs 2 years back? He seemed surprised that I remember his little confession. In a way, I was lucky to guess right and lucky that Torque cut me some slack for my erratic gift. I nod silently, piecing together our conversation in our head, our piecing. Everything clicks into place except for one nagging question. But if you understand these voices and their origins, why bother dissecting them? I hear many voices, each of them distinct but also the same. It's difficult to explain. But among them is one that's elusive. It doesn't come from any known place, and I can't be quieted, not even by my ring. I need to uncover its source and purpose. So it's nastier than the others. Not exactly, just enigmatic. And there's only one. He pauses, his fingers inching toward that cursed ring. Then he clearly abandons what he was going to say. Nobody seems to know a damn thing about it. I squint at him, suspicion tightening my features. You're holding out on me. Again. Of course I am, but I'm being open about it. It's impossible to share everything about oneself. I find that fascinating, don't you? No matter how transparent you try to be, there are always aspects of your life you keep to yourself, intentionally or not. The nuances of our situations. Oh, what a load of crap. I mentally check out for a bit, then I cut off his philosophical rambling. Cool it, Gandalf. Keep your secrets. Just remember, I'm not letting fate roll the die for me. We already have one reckless idiot in this team, and that's me. He seems stunned, but in the end tosses me a small but genuine smile. Thank you, truly. Had I known you'd be so understanding, I might have told you sooner. I apologize for misjudging you, Callie. Apology accepted. Well, thank you for telling me, even if it was under duress. Right. Yeah. So, shall we go back to the important stuff? Oh, I like that. Don't sell yourself short. Don't you underestimate yourself. You matter too. For a split second, his face crumples like he might cry. So I clear my throat and look away. All this mushy crap is really cramping my style. So, Reynard, why is the circulatory system so obsessed with getting him out of the picture? I mean, there's the whole blood trade thing, sure, but why the sudden urgency? I'm guessing it's because they know something we don't. That's a reasonable hypothesis. Right? Every now and then I hit the nail on the head. Now, if the Camarilla hadn't swiped my laptop, I might have done some deep digging online with all my tech, but honestly, it probably would have made a damn difference. Wouldn't have. A behemoth like the circulatory system probably uses a sealed-off intranet for all of their dirty laundry. If only I could hack onto their database, but it's all coulda, woulda, shoulda at this point. Hold that thought. Getting to the circulatory system's database might just be within our grasp. I squint at him. He's full of surprises tonight. Must be the bloodshed getting to him. Have you ever come across someone named Kaiser? Oh, okay, I remember Kaiser. Oh, my throat's going to be in tatters by the end of this playthrough. I have, actually. The info broker? Reynard warned me to steer clear of him. That sounds risky, even for us. Risky indeed, but the rewards may be substantial. Kaiser is quite the figure here in New York. A veritable eminence. Gris, whose influence extends everywhere like a spider's web. There's little he doesn't know, even with the recent altercation with the La Sombra Primogen. La Sombra. Creatures subtly at odds with mundane reality, La Sombra vampires are expected to triumph at any cost. Ruthlessness is a sought-after trait in progeny, making their reputation as betraying interlopers well-deserved. Most do not seek attention, preferring to act as puppeteers, powers behind the proverbial throne. To a shadow, the end justifies any means. The Night Clan, Magisters, Keepers, Shadows, Abyss Mystics, Turncoats, and Traitors. What happened again? What altercation? I'm not privy to the particulars, only that it profoundly disturbed Kaiser. Huh. That Primogen sounds pretty cool. I should definitely not meet with them then. I don't want no altercations. I doubt you have much to say whether the Primogen chooses to seek you out. Anyhow, if we want to operate under the Camarilla's radar, Kaiser's our kindred. Yeah, but hooking up with someone like that? I mean, I'm not even planning to stick around New York much longer. Piling up debts while hunting for my sire sounds like a nightmare. That's fair. Well then, we don't have any other... Wait, hold up. What about that Malkavian savant? Word on the street is she's pretty slick with intel. You know her, right? From clan to clan? Oh, you mean Hope? The CEO of Double Spiral? Right, her. She's famous for her tech chops. Heard some chatter about her back in LA, too. Well, she might not be the best fit for this job. Cracking open the database is one thing, but getting her hands on it is another. But she's been a thorn in Kaiser's side lately, having steadily gained ground in his areas of influence. Maybe she's picked up some new tricks she hasn't unleashed yet. It's your call, Callie. It's about your sire, after all. Honestly, none of these options are particularly stellar, but beggars can't be choosers, right? Oh dear. So we have to choose what is next, and we are going to do so in the next episode, guys. I hope you all have enjoyed it. Let me know what you think, who I should side with, and yeah, we'll see what happens. If y'all like the episode, please leave a like down below. Subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, that'd be a big help. I will see you next time. Later days, everyone.